Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Community Ledger. Today, I want to jump in and speak about Nancy Mace. This is a congresswoman who has been kicking up some dust with regards to these transgender women wanting to utilize women's bathrooms on Capitol Hill. It has been a hot topic because she proposed the bill trying to ban transgender women into women's bathrooms. So we're going to go ahead and dive in and talk about it.
Imagine that has not gone over well with the Democrats.
This is what we're doing. This is the lesson that you've drawn from the election in November. This is your priority, that you want to bully a member of Congress as opposed to welcoming her to join this body so that all of us can work together.
Representative Nancy Mace, South Carolina Congresswoman, member of the Oversight and Reform Committee, is with us. Nice to see you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Well.
I'm wondering if Hakeem Jeffries is missing the point. Was this the lesson of the last election?
Well, clearly Hakeem Jeffries and the left didn't learn any lessons from the election 2 weeks ago. And it's the height of gaslighting to have this guy, a man, Hakeem Jeffries, try to bully me into submission. Look, I am a rape survivor. I'm a survivor of sexual violence and abuse. And I know how vulnerable women and girls are in private spaces. And the question at the end of the day is, do women have rights or not? I mean, this question must be answered. And it doesn't end on Capitol Hill. This stuff is going on all across the country. I'm going to file multiple bills on measures like this because I'm going to fight to protect women and girls. Like, this is not okay. And I'm someone who's very socially sensible, but at some point we have to draw a line with this insanity. And this is a big, fat red line for me.
All right. So Sarah McBride has responded. This is a blatant attempt from far right-wing extremists to distract from the fact that they have no real solutions to what Americans are facing. We should be focused on bringing down the cost of housing, healthcare, childcare, not manufacturing culture wars. There's a few points here. My biggest question, why do you think this is a sacred cow for the Democrats, number one, and why do they refuse to acknowledge what the voters told us 2 weeks ago, that there's women who have sincerely held beliefs and fears about biological men in women's bathrooms, locker rooms, sports teams?
This is a real thing. This isn't manufactured. This person wants to come in and use women's spaces. If I'm in as a woman, I'm changing clothes in the locker room because I use the gym when I'm up here in D.C., the women's gym, and a man shows up and his genitalia, his penis is in the room. No. Like, it's not okay.
Boy, I think that's the first time that's happened on the show, but okay.
I mean, she can go to Planet Fitness where it's okay for a middle-aged man to be, in his boxers and have an underage girl in a towel, fearful in the corner. Not up here. I can't even, the idea of that is a trigger for me. I have PTSD from the abuse that I've suffered. And I'm going to do everything I can to protect women and girls. I know how vulnerable we are in private spaces. If you're changing clothes, men shouldn't be anywhere in the room, period. Period.
I find it hard. I find it hard to argue with you. I don't have a daughter, but I can imagine if I did, that's how I would feel. You're picking up on something that Donald Trump picked up on in the election. This was the most effective ad for Republicans. Take a listen.
Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
You say more bills?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that means that this is going to extend beyond Capitol Hill
100%.
to where?
Well, I want it to extend to all federal property. I want it to extend
so that's national parks, that's any federal office, that's
everywhere. And I also want to extend it to any educational institution or school or place of higher learning that gets any federal funding. I mean, this is only the start, and I'm not going to stop. They are threatening to kill me over this. Men that want to use women's restrooms are threatening to kill me over this issue. Good luck. I was the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina, and if we haven't met yet, I want all the bullies online to know you will not bully me into submission. I can't be threatened. You can't threaten my life enough. That means I'm just going to double and triple, quadruple down on this issue because I'm a girl mom. I employ women. I want to be sure that I protect women everywhere. And this fight doesn't end on Capitol Hill because I have a lot of women writing me in and saying, why is this allowed? Why are we going to prohibit this on the Capitol? But what are we going to do about the rest of the country? It's a fair question.
The majority right now you guys have in the House is, what, 3 votes, maybe? 4 votes, depending. You think you're going to get every Republican on this, on Capitol, in the House? Fine. You're not going to get to 60 votes in this. In the Senate.
I want to see which of my male colleagues don't support women up here. I dare them. Like, this is a place where I want your vote. I want it on record. I want to know where you stand.
Okay.
You protect us. Do we have rights as women or not? And I'm going to fight like hell for this. This is not something that's okay. It's an absurd idea. And it's the height of hypocrisy and gaslighting to tell women, you lose your rights the minute a man walks in the room. I don't think so. We've only had the right to vote for just over 100 years. I'm not going to allow the radical left to set us back. And look, I voted for gay marriage not once, but twice. I'm very socially sensible. But this is about women's safety. It's about women's security. It's about women's privacy. And we have rights.
And so there you have it. You have Miss Nancy Mace, who is not willing to budge on this issue. She says she is a great survivor and she does not feel safe having biological men in restrooms. And I would have to agree with her. You know, I think about the possibility of going to the restroom alone. If there's a man in there, I'm going to turn around and walk out. If I'm taking my children to the restroom and there's a man in there, I'm going to turn around and walk out. If I happen to see, you know, a transgender in there standing at a stall or something like that, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm 100% not comfortable with that. And I completely understand her concerns as a woman, you know, and I get where transgenders will say, you know, what does safety have to do with it? I identify as a woman, et cetera, but there's more to it than that. Just imagine the concept of someone who is on the sex offender registry, someone who has a history of being a predator, okay? Now he's on the streets, right? You don't wear a scarlet letter on your forehead or on your shirt. You don't know who these people are. So all he has to do is put on a wig, put on a dress, walk into a woman's bathroom and wait for the next victim. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who are mentally ill. There are a lot of predators who will capitalize on situations like this specifically to victimize. You have transgender men, women, I'm not sure exactly how you label them, I guess trans biological men who have transitioned into women who are now in women's prisons. We have seen that. And then all of the biological women, 3 or 4 biological women end up pregnant in this prison. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. At some point you have to draw a line. No matter how you feel biologically, there is a difference. Period. Now, there may be a huge population of transgenders who do not want to victimize others. However, there are going to be some men, unfortunately, who are going to capitalize on these opportunities and harm women. And if you care about women's rights, then you have to care about this issue. Now, can there be a solution to where maybe there is a transgender restroom, just like you have family restrooms, to where they can go and feel comfortable? Then that's fine. But women need to be safe. Period. Little girls need to be safe. Period. There should not be anyone who has male genitalia and is a biological male, no matter how he identifies, should be allowed into women's spaces, specifically restrooms, specifically gyms, locker rooms, any of that. It's just not acceptable and it's just not safe. And I personally don't even think that transgender men or women should be allowed in women's sports. You know, we saw last year in the Olympics where it was proposed or it was speculated that that boxing figure from Algeria might have been a man or biologically a man and was fighting a woman, and he won and gained the Olympic title. And then it's starting to come out that this is biologically a male or was born a male. And this is just unacceptable. There has to be a line drawn. Women are physically being beaten by biological men in sports in front of the world to see. And then we're just supposed to turn a blind eye. You know, women and children are put into these vulnerable situations where they're in restrooms, and now biological men can come in there posing as women and, you know, have free reign. It's unacceptable. It's just like there is no safe space for biological women, and that is not okay. Period. It's just not okay. And so I have to agree with her on this stance. And so I, wanted to see what some other people were talking about or what their opinion was on the internet. And so I do see that Megyn Kelly ended up chiming in. And so Nancy Mace posted on X, I will never allow a man to bully me or any other woman or girl. I am here and will fight like hell to stop the insanity. And so Megyn Kelly responded to that and said, why should Nancy Mace or any other female member of Congress staff have to share their bathroom with a man pretending to be a woman? It's not about the feelings of the man masquerading as a fake woman. It's about not forcing actual women to have to worry about that man is in their bathroom where they are vulnerable and which is supposed to be a safe, private, female-only space. Members should stand up for women's rights and not be cowered by empty claims of bullying. Women are the ones being bullied into submission. And that is true. It's about feelings. You know what I'm saying? Biological women are talking about real threats to our safety, and biological men who identify as women are speaking about their feelings, their emotions. Like, emotions are one thing, but real physical abuse cause serious scars and have a serious impact biologically, emotionally, and physically. And it's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And so I would have to agree with every single biological male, biological female out there, every woman, every mother, that no man, biological male should ever be allowed in women's spaces. I get that they may feel like women, but you're not a woman. And you don't carry the same level of fears and the same level of anxiety. You don't live the same life of a natural born woman. You don't have the threat of a whole lot of things that real women have to endure, specifically young girls, okay? And so young girls don't have a choice in a lot of these matters. And so that's why us adult women, have to make these decisions for them to keep them safe. And so it is of utmost importance to me as a woman, as a mother, that these things continue to be, or this type of legislation continues to be pushed forward. And the truth of the matter is the Democrats still want to push these type of agendas, but it's not what the people want. And so here is another article in regards to this hot topic, and this young woman on the left is Sarah McBride, who is the transgender. So Sarah McBride is a biological male who now identifies as a woman, and I'm assuming wants to utilize women's bathrooms on Capitol Hill. And so it says, GOP lawmaker seeks bathroom restrictions on federal property. Republican Nancy Mace of South Carolina has introduced legislation that would ban transgender women from using facilities on federal property like bathrooms and locker rooms that do not correspond with the sex they were assigned at birth. The legislation is a follow-up to similar measure the congresswoman introduced on Monday that was limited to facilities on the House side of the Capitol Hill. The move comes just 2 weeks after Sarah McBride, who is a Democrat, became the first openly transgender person elected to Congress. House Speaker Mike Johnson did not explicitly commit to a plan to vote on either measure, but he released a statement on Wednesday outlining a policy for the House of Representatives. So he did speak about it, and he said there's only two genders. So I'm going to go ahead and read what he said. All single-sex facilities in the Capitol and House office buildings, such as restrooms, changing rooms, and locker rooms, are reserved for individuals of that biological sex, Johnson wrote. It is important to note that each member office has its own private restroom, and unisex restrooms are available throughout the Capitol. McBride responded Wednesday saying she would abide by those rules. I'm not here to fight about bathrooms. I'm here to fight for all Delawareans and to bring down costs facing families. She wrote on X, like all members, I will follow the rules as outlined by Speaker Johnson, even if I disagree with them. Okay, and so here it is. what is her name? Sarah McBride has agreed. She's agreed that she's not going to kick up a whole lot of dust in regards to this, and she's going to use the unisex bathrooms. She's going to use the unisex bathrooms, which I think is respectful. Like, if you being a biological male, but identifying as a woman makes a host of women incredibly uncomfortable and feel unsafe, then you need to respect that. This was a decision that you made for your own personal life. We don't make the decisions in regards to our gender. I was born a woman. That is the gender of my biology. That is not just something that was assigned, as they like to insinuate. I am a woman, period. In my synopsis, in my understanding of life, there are only two genders, male and female. Now, I get that some people want to be able to move and in between those two genders and you know, identify as one week, identify as the other the next week, or however they choose to live. And that is their choice. However, those decisions should not have to impede on my daily life, should not have to impede on my level of safety, should not impede on the safety of my children. And that is what we're talking about. Like, you can be whatever you choose to be. However, you need to do that own personal space. Just like there are family bathrooms, you know, when you have a child, you go in there. A family bathroom is going to be more accommodating to you changing diapers and things of that nature. You can come in there with your husband, your children, and you don't have to worry about anybody standing at a urinal. You don't have to worry about uncleanliness in terms of the sinks and other women and things of that nature. I personally believe they should have a transgender or a unisex restroom specifically for people who are more fluid in their gender. However, I have to agree, and I don't think that this should just be legislation on Capitol Hill or in federal buildings. I think this should be national. I think this should be in every single state. There, if you are a biological male, you need to be using a male bathroom. If you are a biological female, you need to be using a female restroom for the safety of everyone involved. And so, what say you? What's your opinion on this? I know this transgender topic is an incredibly controversial topic, and everyone wants to be respected on both sides, but it's gotten to the point to where women, biological women, are honestly just being pushed out and not being respected. When women are not being respected in terms of our safe spaces, in terms of bathrooms, locker rooms, in sports, and it's gone too far. And I think that with this last election, we see that the masses of America do not agree with this way of life. You know, my husband said, you know, they want to take us back. They want us to move backwards. And I'm like, this isn't even backwards. We were never in there was never a part of society where male and female was questionable. That's been a thing since the beginning of time. Male and female, two genders, that's it. So we're not moving backwards. We're moving somewhere else into some unknown territory that most of the world doesn't even identify as being a reality. And so with all of the millions that voted for Trump, this is a niche sector of the population. And so they don't need to be impeding on everyone else's way of life. And that's just how I feel about it. You know, as a woman, as a mother, I want to be able to go to the restroom and feel safe. I do not want a man standing there dressed as a woman. Like I said, I would turn around and walk right out. If I was there with my children, I would turn around and walk right out. And I think that that's not acceptable. If you are a man and you know you are a biological man and you choose to live your life this way, then you need to be making contingencies for your own personal comfort. But that does not need to be pushed on anybody else. And they're trying to make it to where, you know, we're being forced to submit to this way of life and forced to be subjected to this level of violence. You know, it can get really ugly. And like Nancy Mace said, you know, she is a victim of rape and assault. And it's not comfortable in any way, shape, or form for her to be in a space disrobing, using the restroom, using a locker room, and there is a biological male in there with her. And I can completely understand where she's coming from. I think her argument is definitely well-founded, and I do hope that she gets everyone on board, all of the men and women, to support this. And I am incredibly grateful that that this new Congresswoman McBride has decided to acquiesce and not push the issue and just accept that, you know, she is going to need to use the unisex restroom so that this doesn't become a point of contention, because she's right. We do have a lot of bigger issues that we need to focus on, and women need to be able to be safe just like men need to be safe. And we need to move on. We need to shut all of that down so that we can focus forward. If this is a life choice that you've made for yourself, then you need to figure that out on your own time. I mean, I know that may sound harsh, but that is just what it is. I don't think anybody else around you needs to be compromised by your own personal decisions. And that's just what it is. And so what is your opinion? How do you feel about biological males in women's bathrooms? And do you think this is something that needs to be made law in every state moving forward? And so if you have not already, please do subscribe so that I can continue on this YouTube journey with you. Again, thank you so much for joining the Community Ledger.